Hey guys, welcome back to Pillbox Movies. I'm Hank, and today we're going to be watching the 2024 independent horror movie, I Saw the TV Glow. This is a film by director Jane Schoenbrun, starring Justice Smith and Brigitte Lundy-Paine. Schoenbrun is known for their, I don't know what year it was, 2022? 2021? Directorial debut, We're All Going to the World's Fair. Probably one of the more divisive, contentious horror movies of recent years, at least in the auteur art house-y space until Skinamarink came out. And yeah, I've seen lots of passionate responses to this movie, so I've been wanting to check it out for a while and finally got the opportunity. So yeah, without further ado, let's watch I Saw the TV Glow. And before we get started, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe for more old, obscure, and art house films. It's the opening to what's the Detroit movie? Sorry. It Follows.
This Saturday night on a brand new Pink Opaque.
Drain lords, hundreds of them. They can't hurt you if you don't think about them.
Interestingly, a similar setup to a TV show that was on a couple years ago, Channel Zero. And obviously there's coding already in the rainbow parachute that they're playing under. The colors are very indicative of certain themes. I wonder if a color story is going to be developed in the battle between like the warm color scheme and the cooler color scheme. Again, on the warmer side of things, the color scheme, although it's like sickly greenishly hued, is in the yellow, the warm regions. Void high. This creepy image of the upside down tables. Kind of imagery you'd expect of a place called Void High.
Miss Driscoll lets me use the dark room after school, so I'm just waiting for my pictures to dry out.
Photography. Interesting to see
Yeah,
how
it's
this
like the best book ever.
motif develops.
That's like the TV show, right? The Pink Opaque?
Do you watch?
No.
Oh.
There's an interesting quality to the pink as well. The pink kind of like straddles the line between these two regions. Like if it's given too much
Nice.
saturation, it's almost like the reddish hue, the danger. But when it's tamping down,
What about you?
it like slides into like the coolness,
Silent.
the like more comfortable or soothing or familiar perhaps, or strangely familiar.
Election night is cool, right? It's like the school gets transformed into something else, you know? It's special.
Transformations again being brought up, and you could argue that photography also straddles this line of being transformational and fixed simultaneously, that these photos take a while to develop, to transform into what they actually are, but once they capture something, that like version, that representation of that, what would otherwise be kind of like fluid or unsubstantiated form, becomes fixed into an image, becomes trapped in a certain time and a certain location and reference.
You can
Fruitopia.
read about the episodes here if you want.
That's some nice foreshadowing, I'm sure. Apart from possibly being thematic, it's also evocative of the era of the 90s and this like
It comes on at 10:30 p.m.
there's a good, I think there's a good Defunctland video about it, but an era of
My friend Amanda and I watch together every week.
like of incredibly stylized advertisements and artwork. A similar divide as well as We're All Going to the World's Fair, of the kind of like stratification of where the children live and where their parents live, the children living in like the attic or the upstairs space.
You remember Join Haler, right?
That's a nice little like kind of mix or kind of like misreadings. The two people have different kind of like takes on the scene. That Owen wants to doesn't want to ring the bell because he doesn't want to cue his mother into the fact that he's not actually staying at Johnny's, but his mother interprets it as him being like embarrassed by her, like not wanting to be seen at the door with her. It's the very kind of like preteen, teenage kind of the beginnings of communication breakdown between child and parent. And it's also an opening scene in Bones and All.
Now, even though we live on opposite sides of the county, we help each other fight.
I love the glow in his eyes. Yes, SD. Yes, shooting on video. I bet it was filmed in Canada.
Wrinkly stick of the summer. What?
Oh my god, what is that? What does that typeface look like? What does that font look like? It looks like, does it look like Buffy?
Not fair, man.
I love the reflection in his eyes.
You can go out and join her if you want.
No, I don't smoke cigarettes.
And again, another scene of misinterpretation that Maddie kind of perhaps believes that Owen finds. Okay. Might find her friend attractive. But again, something is happening in Owen's mind that is being miscommunicated or isn't communicated to those outside of himself. And it's a kind of a tension point as to whether or not they need to press him for that information or whether he needs to open himself up and reveal that information.
The show, I mean?
It was really interesting.
Isabel's a scary cat.
I love this also dichotomy that can only be captured like within this age. I mean, it can in all walks of life and all permutations of life, but just this is such an evocative tableau of it that this specific age range of Owen and Maddie, where Maddie's a little bit older but has obviously hit puberty first, and it's this kind of interaction where this in-between range where the women will be larger than the men, or the females will be larger than the males, and it's an instance of Owen seeing a representation of a woman, of a girl that's like bigger than him, more physically dominating, and like kind of like masculine or androgynous in a way that is not as clearly coded as perhaps he's used to in other aspects of his life.
Is the ice cream man in every episode?
No.
It's a monster of the week.
That's just a monster of the week.
I used to love these kind of shows when I was younger, when I was this age as well. Like, I don't remember any of them anymore, but yeah, X-Files, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but like even more so on like the supernatural realm. Like, Erie, Indiana. I don't know what American homes are like these days, but it seems like there are less dens maybe these days. I like this kind of representation of another 90s thing of like this secret place, this subterranean place where teenagers hang out.
The Pink Opaque feels more real than real life. You know?
Yeah, like Erie, Indiana, an image of Ethan Embry seeing like a vision of like a ghost or something.
They just had a baby.
Stayed locked in my brain when I was trying to sleep for weeks on end after seeing it. It's going in reverse. Yeah, so are their lives going to reflect the lives of the protagonists in the Pink Opaque? Are they going to be separated but be joined together in the psychic plane? Some moment of connection where they understood each other when nobody else would understand them. And unconsciously, Owen relates to Maddie based on her relationship with her father. It's alienated. It gets more disturbed or more frightening than the relationship he has with his father, but it reflects a certain truth he knows about his father as well. Oh, I'm loving how they're actually developing the relationship that Owen has with his mother. Very, very incrementally, it's actually deepening in ways that you're not expecting.
Just seems like you're always somewhere else lately. I'm not sure if it's because of me or...
Does she have cancer?
I don't know. Just want to know that you're on the right path. You know?
She has cancer.
Can I stay up late to watch the Pink Opaque tonight?
That flash of red against his father, that little bit of threat.
Isn't that a show for girls?
I used to watch a lot of girls shows when I was growing up. I loved Gilmore Girls. They just talk so fast. They reveal their feelings or their thoughts so quickly. There was a time when I wanted to open myself up to the world like that.
After that first sleepover, I couldn't work up the courage to say more than 3 words to Maddie Wilson at a time. She started leaving tapes for me.
It's a psychic plane. He's gonna start getting messages and oh my god! Oh my god! He's gonna start receiving messages of the tapes. Interesting, also queer movie that showed up last year. The same phrase is used obviously in Love Lies Bleeding. It's like they're all on like a group chat or something. All the indie queer filmmakers are all talking to each other. And the dark room again becomes like this psychic plane, a means of them communicating with each other without ever talking directly to each other. And it also that stratification also speaks to the nature of like high school itself, that you might have made like friends or connections, but there are certain like, he should keep the door open. I know he needs to let the cameraman in, but that in high school, even if you have like meaningful like connections or moments with other kids, that there's a social hierarchy and like a necessity for separation of people into groups and cliques, and obviously that's something that's kind of like more explicitly explored in stuff like Mean Girls and every teen drama ever, but this is kind of like very, very softly injecting that as a point of tension.
I watched these tapes over and over again.
Holy shit.
Marco and Polo.
Another instance of like non-binary characters.
Mr. Melancholy, what's happening to me? How do I know these things? You're like me. You're special.
So it was a cool little meta moment watching somebody watching something through a screen. I like literally saw my reflection in him watching the static on the TV screen. Also, the more episodes he watched, the kind of like more retro the filming style becomes. It's being shot more like a teen's sitcom or a teen like network drama. I was just remarking, like, I was thinking about how the shallow depth of focus means like you don't actually have to see a lot of like the environments that they're in, and how the TV show itself, the Pink Opaque, showcased it better, and now we're seeing like that being reflected in real life. Also, as he's growing older, like his ability to see or perceive kind of like comes more into focus.
Do you and Amanda still watch the Pink Opaque together every week?
And suddenly it's been her lifelong dream to join the cheer squad.
She's got a little bit of peach fuzz. Nice little makeup decision.
I've been watching the tapes you've been making me, but I wanted to watch the Pink Opaque on Saturday night again.
I'm not into boys.
Queer people secretly knowing each other, secretly identifying each other, like the two leads in the Pink Opaque.
When I think about that stuff, it feels like someone took a shovel and dug out all of my insides, and I know there's nothing in there. But
Oh.
I'm still...
That was a moment of me misunderstanding Owen.
Something wrong with me.
I thought Owen was talking about his relationship with media, but he was talking about his relationship with his own sexuality.
Do you ever feel like that?
I'm gonna pause for a second. I have an idea of where this is gonna go. I don't know if you're getting a sense from me that I may feel uncomfortable with the pronouns currently being used, but if that's the case, I actually think that's a really wonderful tack for a trans filmmaker to take in approaching film. Kind of like in some ways interpretations of like the Matrix cycle, the Matrix cycle, that it could be an implicitly queer text and not necessarily have to state it explicitly, but also the idea that that a filmmaker could explore this from like the pre-transition phase for such a wide expanse of the runtime. I understand that comes with its own kind of like complications and whatever, and how that's received and whatnot. But to a general public, I think it's an interesting approach to take, because a cis audience would interpret transness as being a kind of like in itself like a kind of binary process, that the identity is defined solely by the binary of pre-transition and post-transition. And while I think there's other aims in the movie for sure, my guess is that one of the things I think that it's doing really well, if it is going to end up being a trans narrative, is that it's exploring trans identity as being like completely saturated, like suffuse throughout the entire life. Like it permeates every aspect of one's life, that one's trans identity, while not necessarily like inherent or whatever, is felt through any stage, regardless of physical transformation. Sort of in the same way that like queerness is in media is so fixated on like your first sexual encounter, or when is your first like same-sex relationship, and there can be aspects of the identity that are explored that aren't explored through those like binary on-off means, ways for audiences to understand and to integrate and to relate to a character beyond them checking off affixed or stated or recognizable benchmarks that seem to be how we as a society kind of define identities or definitions and stuff. That identity is not definitional, that identity is not like solvable or affixed in these ways, that identity is not defined by benchmarks, especially benchmarks set by a majority or by an orthodox perception of it. Interesting if true. We'll see how it continues.
Maybe you're like Isabel. Afraid of what's inside you.
It's also just such a weird time for teens. It's a weird time for anybody, I suppose, but the discovery, the exploration of one's sexuality, you find that like some people aren't so metacognitive about it. I certainly wasn't when I was in high school, but you wonder if you're weirder than other people for thinking about your sex or your sexuality, or as opposed to sex itself. I love the peach fuzz. It's such a wonderful makeup decision. Yeah, kind of like Owen's relationship with with the TV, his relationship with Maddie is signified. Like he kind of like opens up and discovers his emotions through watching it enacted by other things, whether play acting through the TV or recognizing real kind of like explosive emotions through Maddie, something he doesn't experience as much through his parents because of his taciturn father, or the way that his mother kind of like doesn't speak plainly, transparently about issues that she's suffering from.
Soon. I'll die if I stay here. I don't know how exactly, but I know it's true.
And you can see the different stratifications between Maddie and Owen, that Owen like hides in the upstairs and Maddie hides in the downstairs. And it's like the parents keep the first level, they keep control of the center.
If you leave, I won't have anyone to watch the Pink Opaque with.
Sit up.
Ooh, tattoo. Ooh, cool. Teens do so much weird shit with each other. Is she gonna stick and poke? Has she done this before? And for him, this is a far more intimate covenant than any kind of sexual interaction. Good for Jane Schoenbrun. Getting that money. Getting that A24 money.
I've been pretending to sleep here while my mom's in the hospital and I need to be grounded.
Is that... What the heck?
You can't let me go with
That's Amber Benson. Yeah.
That exact same month that Maddie disappeared, the Pink Opaque got canceled.
Yeah, all those deflated... I don't know what fucking parachutes and shit are made out of, but the crushing the dreams of the 90s. All those plastic covers to be replaced by laser tag.
So if you could call me back.
Ew, the use of that sound effect, that's like intentionally, obviously,
Call me back.
a silly sound effect to use. That's I guess that's also probably referencing, like, you know, a standard 90s TV show's like sound effects kit. Pause. I feel like Jane Schoenbrun, in preparation for this, might have watched some, you know, like Lovecraftian works, like was it in the Mouth of Madness, or especially I'm thinking of like Messiah of Evil. There's just like a certain kind of architecture of abandoned buildings or abandoned lots that they're using for this film that I think kind of evoke that genre. I mean, like liminal spaces, obviously, but almost the idea of like a rapture, people being shot up to the heavens, or, you know, shot up into the mouth of an unknowable, uncaring eldritch horror. Yeah, like the shopping carts and the upturned tables in the cafeteria, the deflated bouncy room, all these, like, you know, once vibrant meeting places or gathering spaces of like the 90s, I guess, emptying out in lieu of... This would be close to the financial crisis, right? This started in 1996, then went forward 2 years, and now it's gone forward 8 years. So it's like right at the cusp of that. Oh, it's the ice storm. So much of Schoenbrun's filmography up to this point has been like a loner's relationship with electricity. Like the white noise, specifically, of electricity, the hum, the whir, the buzz, the static. Yes, of course. 2000s era Transformers. You know what? The Transformers are a lot of things, but monochromatic they are not. They are not of the desaturated era. Does that say something? But this reminds me definitely of Messiah of Evil as well.
Do you remember me?
Oh, Maddie?
Oh my god.
There were flags in the 90s too. We just didn't notice them as much because we were adults.
I know a place on the edge of town.
So much 90s nostalgia. I understand it's like an expression of something in the movie, but I like the 90s too. I don't think they're like... Somebody's been studying Phoebe Bridgers. It sounds too much like Phoebe Bridgers to be a 2007 track. That's literally Phoebe Bridgers! Oh, Jesus Christ. I sometimes, at points, I feel like I am on the same wavelength of Schoenbrun's tastes a little bit too much.
I need to ask you something first. How do you remember it?
How do I remember it?
Is it about two girls in his head, but it's not about two girls in the real life?
I remember it as a TV show.
Is it something that they play acted?
Opaque was a TV
They used to like meet. He had a real. It was her like a real tattoo. They used to have like communicate psychically with each other.
Remember?
Are you sure that's all it was? Do you ever get confused? Like,
I wonder if this is an aspect of queer identity as well, kind of like distorted memories. I mean, it's a part of it's a part of
it's all
cis
out of whack.
normative people's lives too. Everybody's lives.
Do you ever feel like you're narrating your own life?
Will you tell me where you've been all these years?
I've been here the whole time.
Inside the Pink Opaque.
All these cool interactions of like an individual with like electricity, whether a TV screen, wires on the street, or a microphone.
The real Tara. She's buried underground.
Color kind of looks like that demon from Angel.
Must be in hell. No, LA, but a lot of people make that mistake.
They cut out her heart.
I mean, I guess that is 10 p.m. television. That also happened in Angel 2. That demon got his head cut off in one episode.
Don't fight her. It's okay.
That A24 money.
So remember.
Good for Schoenbrun. And the voice of Mr. Melancholy sounds like Justice.
You won't even remember that you're dying. They bury her alive.
Fucking rat as hell. Is he gonna shave her head? I kind of like the actually the comparison. I'm gonna pause for a second. I actually like the comparison of the there's a lot of staring into an image and staring into a mirror as opposed to a television screen. I actually kind of like it in the way that like this character that Owen is confronting it, that it's like the mirror comparatively seems passive. It seems only like reflecting like solid reality, like this planar reality, and it seems like cold and objective and plain and like dead in comparison to staring at a TV screen, which seems like emotional, subjective, and fluid, like constantly moving. The electricity is forcing it into something that the real world might define as a lie, might define as like story or narrative or made up. But the electricity itself, the movement, the captivation of it is what lends it the truth, whereas the mirror, though like technically objectively true, is showing a world that is immovable and static and unchanging in comparison, a dead world, an inert world.
The Pink Opaque was over. And then I was 19. And then I was 20. Like chapters skipped over on a DVD. This isn't normal.
Big old 90s phantasmagoria.
This isn't how life is supposed to feel. I paid this burnout kid who used to hit on me in the food court $50 to bury me alive. I said to myself, what you're doing is crazy. But another part of me knew that it wasn't.
It's a weird kind of
what felt like years in
space
this world was actually just seconds.
within the like queer film world, especially the trans film world, that like death is like a necessary aspect of it. It's an aspect that's like pause for a second. It's a part to be feared. Obviously, it's if death represents like reprisal, it represents like if it represents domination or murder or hatred. But part of like the queer identity is accepting death as an aspect and transformational, like in a tarot-ish kind of way, that some things are worse than death. Like staying fixed in this form is worse than death. Having to be somebody that you're not for the rest of your life is worse than death. And so you have to accept the kind of horror of death, the unknowability of death, in order to transform out of something that you are so supremely locked into.
And then finally,
so in that season
first
finale,
spade full of dirt hit the top of the box.
Might not even be like a horrific ending. It might be
And then another.
an invitation for transformation. Oh, I wasn't expecting that.
And I begged God for someone to come along and save me.
Yeah, astrology.
I felt myself start to leave myself.
Oh.
And it was like I was watching myself on TV from across the room. And then I was clawing my way up out of the ground.
It's beautiful.
And then I was at the surface, gasping for air. Rain pouring down on me.
Like in Buffy.
Lightning. That whole reality where I was Maddie Wilson drifted away. I was finally me again. And it was the season 6 premiere. I knew you must be buried somewhere close by. I found my heart.
Oh, it's a fucking cool monologue. Goddamn.
Oh my God.
You can
I left
still
our hearts there
escape.
because I knew I wasn't done yet.
There's still time.
I knew I needed to come back and save you so that we can get to season 6.
But you can't run away this time.
I remember cooking.
Can I pause for a
with my
second?
mom.
I'm really enjoying this so far. I don't want this to end with the double ending thing. I think it's been played out at this point. The double ending thing is did they die or did they sublimate? It's the Pan's Labyrinth ending. It's more recently, you could argue this is a Saint Maud ending. It was the ending in A Feast, I think it was. It's I think it's a little overdone.
Those memories were put there to distract you. To keep you trapped.
It's a harsh indictment, or it's a harsh kind of like thing to say within this queer text, that like even the aspect of like you know, your mother's cancer and your kind of like feelings of guilt over that, even that is like an anchor you use to weigh yourself into a reality in which you're trapped.
We need to go back down into the soil.
That you have to even let go of like as precious and as dear and as severe kind of like memories or obligations in order to be your most authentic self.
I kept waiting for her to show back up.
No,
Force me underground.
you're gonna have to do it yourself.
I never saw her again. Found myself wondering, what if she was right?
There's still time to do it for yourself.
I've been telling the truth. Someone buried alive and suffocating to death.
Tuitude. I'm trying to think of what's a movie where it's like they go all the way to like their old age and they're like, I take it all back. The only thing that's coming into my mind right now is like is Last Temptation of Christ.
I even got a family of my own.
The only product placement is this dreary indictment of suburban life. That's funny. I don't know if that's real product placement or not. That's funny. I don't even know if they've shown sodas in this. Have they? Like soda brands? Is she hearing herself breathing?
I just felt embarrassed.
Running out of air. It's like fun to trace how close Owen is in their journey, based on how long their hair is, how close they are to finding the truth. Money pit shit. Now even our entertainment is based on making a profit. It also was in the 90s. We had to earn those tickets. Yes, have an asthma attack. Stop breathing. That'll bring you back. You don't have to bury yourself. You just have to get rid of your inhaler. A little bit of a Vanilla Sky or Inception moment.
Sorry, ignore me. Oh, in a minute.
I mean, like, this is also kind of like in that like queer space, the like queer text, this kind of and interfacing with like death, this kind of like sadness, but also perhaps revelation and self-mutilation. And it also interacts with like high school narrative as well. And even like the concept of like self-mutilation as a negative term is applied to like gender affirmation surgery. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. They went full on with the ending of nice. I actually wonder if there's a postscript to this. Interesting. I actually like, as like a sophomore effort, that Schoenbrun decided to eschew kind of like an emotionally cathartic climax in order to leave it at something a little bit more nebulous. I mean, I think they were going for something nebulous with we're all going to the World's Fair as well, but that's kind of in the realm of like art house ambiguity, whereas this one is more utilizing the kind of like anticlimax of it to give more of a feeling of like a character study, that we don't have an emotional catharsis for this character because this character is not activated enough to pursue their own emotional revelation or catharsis. So what we're left with is like a hollow feeling, that was it feeling at the end. in the vein of like The Irishman, of a life lived filled with regret. That's not a quote from The Irishman. That's a quote from Inception. But you get what I mean. I'm sorry, they. Been using the wrong pronouns. They. Yeah, I think they made the like a movie about like the comfort of like the suburbs, like death in the suburbs, basically. That it's hard to escape these kind of like obligations, ties, but ultimately it's less about obligation than it is about fear on what's on the other side. And that's like very aptly described by the fear of death, by the fear of total commitment. So Owen is willing to self-harm, self-mutilate to get glimpses of this like ecstasy or this other world, but ultimately they are too afraid to like make space for themselves to accept their own identity, their own interior identity, and so we have to live in the same lack that they exist in. Yeah, I think it was it was a good movie. It was an emotional movie at times. I don't know. I'm in this weird headspace right now. I guess others may disagree, but I kind of feel like there's a vacuum right now between like scary movies being scary and scary movies being emotional, and I would like the two to join together a little bit more firmly. I understand that how would I say this? I feel like directors who set out to make scary horror movies know that they're working within genre, and directors who make not scary arty films either don't want to admit that they're working in genre, or the genre that they will admit to isn't horror. And I'm not making this as an accusation against Schoenbrun, but I want to see some horror movies that are like a little bit more on the scary side, in addition to being perhaps emotionally or existentially scary. This is like a more recent thing for me, and I'm suffering from anhedonia recently, so perhaps I'm just not like enjoying films as much, or buying into films as much. So really that could be like a problem on my side. Yeah, I think there's like a maybe not a sweet spot, but like Messiah of Evil is a good example where it's not a lot of it is kind of like existential terror, but there are aspects of it that are like terror that are like set up and payoff and suspense and release, and some of that stuff seems like to like newer or more heady filmmakers can seem like gimmicky or ideological. And similarly, I think like art house filmmakers are like kind of afraid to experiment in the waters of genre, in the waters of mechanics, honestly, because they're afraid it's too tropey or too genre. But ultimately, I think it's actually a similar fear to what's being expressed in this, that they're too afraid to fail in something that would make them seem like a mockery if they failed in it. So I don't know. I sometimes feel like art house directors view the mechanics of horror as like poor workmen's mechanic aspects of the genre, when really they are the things that like are foundational and build up the genre. Like Hitchcock only gets psychological praise and analysis after people are frightened and enthralled by his films. I'm not saying this is a huge issue with this movie, but it is something on the back of my mind. Yeah, I liked I Saw the TV Glow. I'm not absolutely enamored with it, but I do think it uses like the concept of nostalgia to in like interesting or transformational ways. Because most of the time, a lot of media, a lot of films use nostalgia as just remember how much better the olden times were. We should go back to that. And this is perhaps taking a more definitive stake, where it says that this feeling of lack, this feeling of nostalgia, this feeling of lack, of pain of an old wound, it's something we need to access in order to change our disposition towards the future. That it's not something that we can just like reflect on and obsess over without changing something fundamentally within ourselves. That in fact, that a past that has no ability to manifest change in the future, that doesn't aid in transforming the future, is static and dead and creates zombies. It creates dead people. And like especially vulnerable and surprising performances from Justice Smith and from Brigitte Lundy-Payne. Really, really fascinating performances in different ways from the two. Yeah, that was I Saw the TV Glow. Give it a shot. See what you think of it. In the meantime, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe for more old, obscure, and art house films. And until next time, keep watching good movies.